when somebody offers you $252 million, this is not an indictment towards the Mariners or towards me or towards anybody. Look, a kid that comes from the projects, how do you say no to $250 million? I miss Seattle tremendously. I had tremendous stability there. Fanfare was incredible. And I hope that one day I get to come back and celebrate, at least thank the great fans of the Mariners for what they did for me.
So just recently, on July 16th, 2024, Alex Rodriguez actually visited Seattle Sports Radio, led by Brock and Salk, which is actually kind of unusual because Alex Rodriguez hasn't had exactly the best reputation in Seattle due to him leaving Seattle and how he did it, I guess. I mean, I'm the one that is already forgiven him and move on, but fans have completely, they just won't let it go kind of thing. They're still holding the grudge, and it's evident in the YouTube comments of this video that I'm reacting to. The title is, Alex Rodriguez wants to come back to Seattle to thank Mariner fans. And here are the comments that were in there. Some of them included like, forget it. That ship has sailed. When you talked up how motivated you were to bring a championship to Seattle, to go off to Texas for the moment any amount of money was flashed before your eyes. A-Rod knows you can't unburn a bridge, right? It's all about money, greed. If Alex had stayed, were the Mariners going to pay him minimum wage? There's one that just says, boo. I mean, those are just petty comments. I mean, those are just YouTube comments, but it is still sad that, like, if A-Rod stepped on the Seattle ever again, that he is still going to get booed, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, even all the A-Rod haters should at least acknowledge that he is still, Alex Rodriguez is still the best shortstop the Mariners have ever had, and arguably should be considered the best Mariner of all time aside from Ken Griffey Jr., and I'm actually one of those people that actually say he was the best Mariner of all time. Now, before we get into this video is sponsored by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a mobile ticketing app for sporting events, concerts, and other events. They make the buying experience easier by the app ranking each ticket from 0 to 10 to see if you are getting a good deal, and you can see exactly where you are sitting. I regularly use that app, and I have had nothing but a fantastic experience with SeatGeek. Use my promo code ROOFTOPSPORTS to get $20 off of your first purchase. Link to the code, app, and website will be in the description, so take advantage, and thank you. As the Mariners are gearing up for the second half of the season, and hopefully it will be a good one and they will make that drive to the playoffs. But here is the video that was with Brock and Salk, and I'm going to react to about a few key points because I'm not going to react to the entire thing, and if you do want to watch the entire thing, I will provide the link in the description. And before I get started, hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
Obviously, they have a flagship player in Julio Rodriguez, J-Rod, who's one of the best in every way, both on and off the field. I love what they're doing with their starting pitching. They have a closer. You love Julio to get going a little bit more, maybe swing a little bit less with a swing and miss and give you a little bit more slugging. But, you know, his pass would tell you that he should have a very good second half.
So Alex Rodriguez is absolutely correct. You got Julio Rodriguez, who is supposedly the superstar of the team, the J-Rod show. Andres Munoz is an absolutely amazing closer this season. He's actually exceeded my expectations. And that starting rotation led by George Kirby and Logan Gilbert is a huge reason why the Mariners are even in the division lead. But at the same time, Alex is also correct about Julio Rodriguez that he's got to lower that swing and miss because those swing and misses I see just drive me absolutely nuts. And there are times where I'm like, Julio, you don't have to hit the home run. Just try to slap it or something and use every part of the field.
Look, the Pacific Northwest was some of my fondest times. I know Julio loves Seattle. I certainly miss the Mariners. The Mariner fans are absolutely best in class. And I think he has a unique opportunity to be a Hall of Fame player, win a championship, and to do it all in one city. Would be incredible, not only for Julio, but for that great fan base up there.
I really do like that A-Rod actually has a lot of respect for the Mariners and Seattle, despite all that baggage that happened and despite all the hate that the Mariners fan gave him. And it went as far as when Felix Hernandez beamed Alex Rodriguez in a game in 2012, there was a fan actually screaming, "Break your elbow." Check it out. There were Mariner fans that said, "Hit him again and break your elbow." How low can these Mariner fans be?
I think being in Seattle helps a lot. I think the fact that you're not in a New York or Boston or LA allows you to grow up at a pace that is conducive for greatness. And I think we've seen that right now with Julio. You stay in the process. You continue to work hard every single day. You avoid the big mistakes. Like, obviously, I made a couple big mistakes in my career that have hurt me tremendously. So obviously, you want to avoid that. I spent a lot of my time with the next generation talking about my mistakes and how do you avoid the big mistakes. And, stay focused on the process, not so much on the results. And Julio has an incredible head on his shoulder. He's also very, very smart and centered and humble.
And I do like the advice that Alex Rodriguez is providing for Julio, that he does have a great opportunity to do great things in Seattle, and is reminding, especially the young players these days, to not make the same mistakes Alex Rodriguez made, because he did make plenty of mistakes, and it was beyond and after the time when he left Seattle. It was all with that steroid baggage and everything else, all that bad publicity he got in New York, especially with the relationship with Derek Jeter that went south ever since he left Seattle. And it looks like he really does want to make sure that the next generation doesn't make the same mistake as he does, which I really do respect, because a lot of us people when we were young, especially for someone that's 32, we've all made our mistakes back then. And most of us naturally would like to pass it on to the next generation and make sure that they don't make the same mistakes as we made back then.
Right after that 96 season, the next year wasn't as good. Your OPS dropped back by almost 200 points. Do you remember that year? I mean, you still hit 300, so it's not like it was a disaster. But do you remember that year and what it was like and how you, quote unquote, snapped out of it, for whatever it's worth?
Yeah, statistic-wise, that was probably the worst year of my career over the course of 20 years. I think I had 23 home runs and drove in not even 100 runs, I think 84 runs or something. There is something to be said about a little bit of a sophomore slump. It's
pretty interesting that back in 1997, when Alex Rodriguez had numbers like that of 23 home runs, 84 RBIs, batted 300 with a 350 OBP, with an OPS that did drop 200 points, just like what Sox said, it's hard to believe that that was considered his worst season of his career, at least up until his later days. And to think that if there were any Mariners today that had numbers like that, especially like even Julio Rodriguez with those numbers, we'll more than take it.
Edgar Martinez taught me that with two strikes, if you have to choke up, put the ball in play, give yourself a shot, and especially in October when you have elite pitching, swing and miss guys. If you have guys that swing and miss during the season, that doesn't forecast well for October. That means you're going to swing and miss probably 2x than you did during the regular season.
Have you noticed that Alex Rodriguez talks about Edgar Martinez like all the time? And it's true, because Edgar was one of the great mentors of him, and he admitted it even on his retirement speech when he actually wished he had 5 more years with the Mariners. Take a look at this.
For me, today is about really thanking all the fans and all the coaches, managers, people that gave me an opportunity. I think about Woody Woodward, who drafted me with Roger Youngward. I think about Lou Piniella and Edgar Martinez, who were great teachers and mentors to me at 18 years old. I've always said I wish I had 5 more years with Lou Piniella, because I think I would have benefited from his tutelage and his mentorship.
And it seems like A-Rod didn't really realize how much mentorship that he actually got out of Lou Piniella and Edgar Martinez, which is why, this is some of the reasons why I want Mariner fans to forgive A-Rod, because A-Rod credits a lot of the success to the Mariners. And if anything, I really do think it's a disservice that these Mariner fans are still grudging all over a decision leaving Seattle for $252 million, especially over something that basically everyone would have done.
When somebody offers you $252 million, this is not an indictment towards the Mariners or towards me or towards anybody. Look, a kid that comes from the projects, how do you say no to $250 million in the year 2001? Maybe some of your listeners would. I couldn't. I had a responsibility to my mother, to my family. And it was a decision I'm proud of, even though I miss Seattle tremendously. I had tremendous stability there. Fanfare was incredible.
It is true that Alex Rodriguez didn't exactly have the greatest childhood, especially when he said his mother was collecting food stamps. And I remember I did read some books a long time ago that A-Rod, he really did have a really tough childhood. Like, it was to a point that he had to make baseballs out of socks and use a stick as a baseball bat and milk carton as a glove. And then all of a sudden, when someone is handing you $252 million, I mean, it's a really difficult contract to pass up on, especially with all the hard work that A-Rod did throughout his years in Seattle. But the thing I would have liked to see was Alex Rodriguez talking about the whole free agency process on how what really went down, because the story still doesn't seem very clear at all, because there's one side where it's just A-Rod was the traitor. He left Seattle. He lied to Seattle. He wanted to go to Texas because he thinks he can get a championship there. And then the other side was, well, the ownership, including the guys of like Howard Lincoln and Chuck Armstrong, they didn't really do anything. There was a report by Peter Gammons that Howard Lincoln and Chuck Armstrong were vacationing in Hawaii during these contract negotiations. There was another part of the story where Pat Gillick and even Howard Lincoln were in the same room as Scott Boras, the agent, because A-Rod was not involved in any of the contract negotiations. It was just pure business. And whatever the Mariners offered him, Scott Boras just left the door and just left and said goodbye. And I heard actually after that whole thing, Alex Rodriguez actually called Lou Piniella after he accepted the offer from Texas that he actually thought it was a difficult decision to leave Seattle. And then, of course, there was another conflicting report that A-Rod actually criticized the Mariners for not giving that good effort to keep him. But overall, I just wish that Brock and Salk actually pushed and like asked what happened throughout that process of the free agency, so that way Seattle fans can get a better understanding of what in the world happened throughout that time, especially when we all believe in that whole one side of the story and then the other side of the story.
How the game is being taught today is they are actually making it very kosher to swing and miss. And when I came up under Lou Piniella, Griffey, Edgar Martinez, Joey Cora, it was vital to make contact. It was vital to be a good two-strike hitter. If you're hitting 150 with two strikes, you know, Lou Piniella will call you in his office at the old Kingdom and say, young man, you're driving 45 minutes to Tacoma. And if you're hitting 240 or 250, under 250, you're going to Tacoma.
And that's the type of manager the Mariners need. They need someone that holds the hitters accountable, especially with these ridiculous amount of swing and misses. And I did like that Alex Rodriguez did bring up that Lou Piniella did have a high level of discipline on his players, especially when he said that if you're batting at a certain level, you are going to Tacoma. Like, I really do think that Lou Piniella was the best manager the Mariners had. Like, when he was the manager of the Mariners, that offense was clicking very well. And now we have a manager in Scott Service that doesn't really do anything to address the problem of the strikeout issue. Like, Mariners got rid of Jared Kelenic and Teoscar Hernandez and Gino Suarez to, quote, help with the strikeout problem. But it only made it worse, I guess, by not even setting that kind of discipline or that kind of accountability. The best they did was hire some offensive coordinator, and then he got fired because nothing was really working. So I do like the points that A-Rod brought up, is that you need a manager that actually sets discipline and accountability. And I do like that Alex Rodriguez does still say the good things about Seattle and the fan base. Like, heck, in 2001, after the Texas series, when they came back to Seattle, he was still saying really good things about the Mariner fans.
If they boo, I think, you know, it's good. It's good. It's exciting. It's good for baseball. Maybe if I was there and I was a 15-year-old boy, maybe I would boo. I don't care what comes out of their mouths. I still love them.
And it's kind of sad that Mariner fans kind of forgot about that, or they just chose not to or even notice that. But I do think overall that Alex Rodriguez deserves some kind of warm homecoming that he is long due for. Like, it has happened before when the Toronto Raptors, they gave Vince Carter a nice homecoming towards the end of his career, or at least in the middle of his career. And I think it's time for Mariner fans to finally just forgive him. And for the Mariners, give him that Mariners Hall of Fame that he does deserve, along with like Edgar Martinez, Jay Buhner, Ken Griffey Jr., Randy Johnson, and Dan Wilson. They all got that award. So Alex Rodriguez should be long due for it, because I'm going to say this, and I will take it to the grave, that Alex Rodriguez is the greatest Mariner of all time. I know that's not a popular opinion because it really belongs to Ken Griffey Jr., but I do believe that Alex Rodriguez is the most underappreciated star in Mariners history. And I really hope that there is some kind of like homecoming or some kind of reconciliation between the fans and Seattle, because personally, I just think that holding that grudge is it's just completely unhealthy. And I don't like holding grudges. Like, it's just not healthy. And it just really just damages your mindset. And a lot of people like that you interact with, they will see that. Like, they can sense it if you are holding some kind of grudge. And I do think that it's really time to move on. Just let it go. Forgive him. Appreciate the time he did in Seattle. And let's just all move on. Well, that's going to do it for me for this video. I thought, When I saw this video, I just totally had to watch it and react to it, and now I just made a video on it. So I just want to say thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and go Mariners. And thank you very much for watching. I also want to show you my Alex Rodriguez video I made on his free agency story, so check that out.